room here so we can do that. Now, I just want to welcome everybody here tonight. This again is our Sizzle Business Overview, and tonight we have a wonderful guest speaker here tonight. His name is Mr. Tom Maurer Sr., and he's becoming a very good friend, very good mentor, business partner, whatever you want. This guy's amazing. And before we get into it, what I want to do is I want to tell you that you're here tonight possibly because you're either already part of the team or you're looking for something now currently. And there's so much stuff out there. There's so many network marketing companies, business opportunities, programs, deals, or whatchamacallits. And I got to tell you something. I've been in this industry, the home-based business industry, now for about 20 years. And companies like Sizzle International come along maybe once every decade, maybe once every 50 years. And we are at the right place at the right time with the right company, folks. Tom Maurer tonight's going to share with you some new products that we're launching come October 1 and 2. All right? That's going to be his key focus tonight. But let me give you a little bit of background about Tom Maurer himself. Now, Tom is the president, chairman, co-founder, and he's also the chief scientific officer of Sizzle International. He's got a huge sales background. He's an incredible formulator. He holds several patents. He created this company out of his own pocket. He invested $100 million to develop a manufacturing facility, which I had the privilege of going on a tour of and being a chemical engineer and seeing this facility. I was very impressed. Very impressed. Now, not only do we have a facility, we've got a company. Tom manufactures for companies like GNC and Costco, Sam's Club, Price Club, and 40 other direct sales MLM network marketing companies. So can you imagine now, just imagine how much more vastly superior our products can be. And we're just getting started. I mean, we are just getting started. We're doing over $100 million a year. We're in 30 countries. We're 3 years old. Tom Maurer already built a $1 billion network marketing company, and he's doing it again. But he has a motto. He has a mission. He has a concept that he wants to assist every one of you with developing wealth, health, and happiness. That's his mission statement. To make the distributor base healthy, wealthy, and happy. But here's the rub. Here's the deal. Tom is doing this by bridging the gap between science and human needs. You see, folks, Sizzle International researches the research. The research on natural source products and ingredients changes so quickly. Chemistry changes so quickly. New science is found on a daily basis. And Tom Maurer and his team, 18 or so research scientists on staff, maintain research. They stay on top of things. And Tom's going to share with you some research tonight about our new Fit and Fabulous weight loss product line. And you really need to pay attention. You also really, really need to take some notes, because we're launching this come convention. So Tom, why don't we do this? Why don't we check your microphone and see if your audio is working okay? Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Tom Maurer Sr., President, Chairman, Co-founder, and Chief Scientific Officer of Sizzle International. Tom, take it away.
For Clayton, well, what does that say? Anyway, glad to see so many people from so many places around the world that's on the call. It's really amazing what's happening. I'm getting tremendous numbers of people that are inquiring every day about when we can open this country or that one and the other. And I'll tell you, folks, we've opened about 30 countries in just 3 years. Now, next year we're probably going to open, it'll probably be less than 10, but you opened 12 this past year. That's one a month. There's only so much a company can do, and so we've got to have to grow where we're planted. And as a consequence, you'll see some countries open, but they're going to be much more selective in the future. And I can tell you real quick, because people are asking, we're going to open next year. This is our goals, and I can't give you a date, so don't ask, because I don't know. We're going to try and open Mexico, Brazil, Australia, New Zealand, and perhaps even this year, Malaysia and Singapore and the Philippines. Those are the ones that we're going to go after to open, but we also could open Hong Kong and Taiwan also. But that's a lot. If you can imagine, there's companies that would go 5 years and they wouldn't open that many countries, but we're going to try and do that many. And those are massive companies, or countries, to open in, and they're all global segments, all connected in. Now, right now, we are on fire. In fact, we private label, as Jerry was saying, at our massive manufacturing plant that we have, and it's we manufacture the pharmaceutical grades. It's CGMP, and we're national NSF, National Sanitation Foundation approved, so we can make the finest quality products in the world, and we do. The differences between our products and other products, it is like roller skates and a Ferrari. These products are being made and sold in the industry, whether it be skincare, hair care, or weight loss, which we're going to talk about tonight, are really mediocre products. And I cannot tell you, only once in a while do I ever find one that I consider to be worth really using. But in Sizzle, I can tell you what, everything that we have is really worth using. I watched on CNN yesterday when they were talking about the amazing things that omega-3s do for the brain and depression and lowering suicide rates and things like this. And as I looked at what they're saying about omega-3, and I think, geez, that is yes, it's okay, but it's not nearly what it could be to give you the benefits of it. They're just talking about fish oil omega-3. There's a big difference. And they say, well, there's 2 types of omega-3s. Well, yes, they're sort of correct, but there's really 3. Krill, algae, fish, all of those, and they're in a chain. And so if you want omega-3 oils, what do you want? You want the best combination of what they are, because they all have different abilities. And as I watched it on national news, and they were advocating it because of the study, I thought, only done on fish oil. And where are the researchers' minds? I guess they're singly focused in on what they're doing. And that's one of the problems in all kinds of things that are done, and especially now true in weight loss. So tonight we're going to talk primarily about weight loss products. For the most part, weight loss. Sorry, sound like Clayton here. For the most part, weight loss products do not work well. The way that they do generally work is if you dramatically cut back on your calories or you increase exercise. Of course, if you increase exercise, you're probably going to lose weight anyway. And if you cut back on calories, you're going to lose weight. If you cut back enough, you see these HCG diets that are out right now, and they're giving you this hormone that's supposed to be so powerful that helps you to lose weight. Well, if you look at that, and they're advertised all over, what's the calorie diet that you take a day? 500 calories. Well, you realize how little that is? The average person now in, let's say, North America eats 3,500 calories a day. Only 20 years ago, it was about 1,800 calories a day. So why has the population gotten so much more overweight and obese? We're consuming too much food. Our basic metabolic rate, which is the rate at which we burn food, our BMR, has actually gone down because we're more sedentary. We're leading more sedentary lifestyles. And think of it with children. Suddenly it's risen up so much with weight gain in children because they're even more sedentary, all due to the social networking and the games and the things they're doing, instead of going out and playing and doing the things that children should be doing to grow and develop normally. Well, that's the world we live in, but maybe we can do some changes with that. But when you take a look at the causes of weight loss, it's generally pretty simple. You're eating more food than you're burning, more calories. Now, I tell people that you can go on a crash diet and anyone can lose weight. And a good example, although it's not such a good one in some ways, but when they had concentration camps in World War II, everyone that went in fat came out thin, if they came out, because they just they gave them very little and they just starved to death. And they came out, and what had they lost? They lost, the ones that have been there for a long time, they're a rack of bones. They'd lost their fat and they'd lost their muscle mass. They're lean. And so, of course, that's certainly not a healthy program, but many of these that are out there today will cause you to lose lean in addition to losing fat. I think the HCG diet is one of them because you're not balancing what you're doing. Now, the most effective one is that I know of is meal replacement, because you can get a certain amount of nutrition in it and you get a reasonable amount of proteins to keep you fairly healthy, and meal replacements are somewhere around, they can range anywhere from 80 to 150 or so calories, 160, and that's a pretty good meal replacement. And so if you take that in place of a major meal, of course, it's low calorie, and if you do that twice a day, then you have two really low calorie meals, and then your major meal can be more calories, of course, but you're going to drop down from that 3,500 and you're going to get down below 2,000. In fact, is really to lose weight, women should be on about 1,200 calories a day, and men probably about 1,500. If you're in that ratio, you're going to lose weight. And of course, the more you can go below that, the more weight that you're going to lose. So if you simply went to GNC and you bought a meal replacement that was low calorie and you followed it, would you lose weight? Yes, you probably would. If you bought it from a network marketing company in low calorie, the same situation. You would probably lose weight, but there's a lot more to it than that. Because calorie restriction, I mean, if you just ate grass, low calorie grass, who would want to do that? But it's low enough calorie to lose weight on it. Meal replacements are more than that, but most of them for the formulations that are in them are pretty well the same as one or another. And they use basically a couple of things in a weight loss system. They have low calories, number one, try to get rid of the sugars, low carbs, and they use a type of protein to support your protein needs so that as this low-calorie diet goes down, you don't lose so much lean. Now, the ingredients that make up these low-calorie diets are generally soy protein and whey protein. It can be one or the other or both. More commonly, I'm seeing soy and whey being used in more of the formulations that are out there. And so I've looked at them very closely to see what the benefits are, and there are some benefits with some protein, but there's really a lot of negatives associated with it which you're never told about. Why are you not told about it? Because that's what everyone's using in the industry, I believe, or virtually everyone, to lose weight. And yes, there's dramatic ways of losing weight, and there's contests and marketing challenges that companies are using. I believe the first one to do it is a big company, and you can look at them if you want to on the internet. They're EAS, and they're into bodybuilding and weight loss, and they have I think the original weight loss challenge that's out there. So people take a look at it, and you see the photos of people before and after, and the tremendous amount of weight that they've lost. But you see it visually too, because you see the pictures that are there. Now, if you've seen Jerry Schroeder in his before and after, I think Jerry's getting dang close to 60 pounds of weight loss just on Slender Pops, because it's allowed him to cut back his calories so much that his weight has just gone down, down, down. So what's the best answer to weight loss? Well, it's a comprehensive program, in my opinion. There are many things that really don't work well at all, and if you look at hydroxycut or hydroxycitric acid, another word for it is Garcinia cambogia, if you know what that is, or hydroxy, HCA, hydroxycitric acid. Those are really around. You can buy them in all the stores, and it's probably the number one that's being sold as a supplement. And in reality, I think they have no value. I tested them extensively over a 4-month period of time and gave maximum doses, and everyone that was on the study actually gained 2 pounds by the time it was over. Just because it's not interfering to keep fat from being stored as they said it would. I didn't believe it, and I saw studies that it wouldn't, but the manufacturer of it came and met with me because we're a big potential client, and he wanted me to try it, and I said, well, you've already been sued on it because the company put a lot of money in it and nobody lost weight. Oh, that was an old formula. Somebody made it 50% strength for us, and so if you'll take full strength, you'll lose weight. And I said, well, let me ask you this. If the product works so well, why are you so fat? And he said, oh, well, it's a medical condition. I said, I knew that's what your answer was going to be, because that's what everybody says that can't lose weight. Oh, I got a medical condition. Well, in some ways, actually, you do if you're living in today's world, because we have so many toxins in our environment that are affecting your basic metabolic rate, and especially women. So I'm going to give you a scenario today of setting up a system that really works, that can help you to lose weight, to keep your basic metabolic rate up, because most diets as you diet, the brain thinks you're in a starvation mode, and your basic metabolic rate goes down to try and conserve because it thinks you're starving. And of course you're taking in less, and so the brain sees that and says, ooh, I better drop down. But if you drop down your calories so low, you're going to lose the weight anyway, even though your basic metabolic rate is down. So when the diet's over, if you now remove that factor and your food consumption suddenly goes up even where your basic metabolic rate was before, it's now lowered, and the diet that would have kept you normal or perhaps even kept you thin can now add fat to your body because your basic metabolic rate has dropped in response to your starvation-induced diet as the brain sees it. And so with that, we want to keep our basic metabolic rate up because we have more regeneration, we burn more fat, we have more energy, we feel better, and I don't believe any of these products that I see in the marketplace are doing that. So we put together a comprehensive system to be able to use a number of products together to give you all the tools you want to do two things: to lose weight fast and safely and come out of it more healthy with an increase in basic metabolic rate, a dramatic loss in fat, and a substantial increase in lean. That sounds pretty ideal, doesn't it? And it actually is. And we believe in theory, and I have to tell you this right now, it's a theory, but it's based upon the ingredients that we're putting in these formulations. But I will tell you this, there's nobody in the world, and I don't mean this saying egotistically, like me, that takes a look at products the way that I do and understands them. And I have a large R&D team that follows the directives that I give them, and I see these things. I'm very insightful in it, also very marketing-oriented and product-oriented. So when I gear down on something, I can really find the answers and get them brought to the forefront. And so as a consequence, as I've looked at all these factors that are involved, there's some things that are really problems we have to deal with. One of the problems we have to deal with is women's nature to gain weight automatically as they start getting older, more so than men. Of course, men can consume lots of stuff, you know, and the men store fat right here in their stomach, and they do it because that's really where fat's stored for energy. So, ladies, if your husband's there laying on the couch on Sunday afternoon and his big stomach's there and he's got a piece of cake on it and he's eating it watching the football game, don't disturb him because he's probably just conserving energy for that day that he needs it. But if you don't think you're going to need any energy, then let's get rid of that gut. Women store fat around their abdominal area, particularly because they're really into metabolic syndrome, really quite seriously, and that's indicated of where they store it around their waist. Cellulite is stored for childbearing, so a lot of the weight that accumulates there is due to childbearing, although metabolic syndrome will contribute to that, but more so in the upper body. And as a consequence, we need to look at all those things because of the issues that happen with people. In addition, women and men too are lactose intolerant, some very much so. Generally, the lighter the skin, the less lactose intolerant they are. And so as you get, the more lactose tolerant you are. So the darker the skin, the more intolerant you are. And so the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, light-skinned people, redheads at the bottom end of the spectrum, have pretty good lactose tolerant. But when you get to the African Americans at the top end, they are about 98% lactose intolerant, and they have a devil of a time trying to lose weight because of that alone, and it creates inflammation and things like that, and they're more vulnerable to metabolic syndrome also. But we believe we can pretty well satisfy that for anyone that really wants to get on this program and follow it. So this is the steps of the program that we have. The base of it is our meal replacement. And we're going to do meal replacement like it's never been done before. And then we have a Slender Pop, which is already out. But here is the beautiful packaging. Look how nice that looks. It's just gorgeous. Some of these companies just put it in a bag and put it out. We're going to have nice canisters so it's durable and you can handle it. And beautiful packaging all the way through. So we'll have the meal replacement, we'll have the Slender Pops, Then we're going to have our accelerator. We already have that, and that's a product for burning fat, increasing the metabolic rate, or supporting the basic metabolic rate to increase it to burn fat. And then we're going to have a cream for fat that you can rub into the skin if you have a little turkey gobbler here, or some love handles, or things of that cellulite on thighs, hips, even the stomach, if you want to. And if you have an area that's really tough, backs of the arms often is, especially for women, to get the weight off, you can rub it in. And of course, what we have to make legal claims, so we'll say it looks a lot slender, appears more sleek, and just seems to disappear. And in and of itself is not the answer, except it's really great for those spot areas that you need an extra push to support your weight loss program. Now understand the FDA hasn't evaluated any of these claims we made, and we're not making claims for the products. The things that I'm talking about tonight are the ingredients that are used in our formula that we're going to explain to you. So under DSHEA, which is the Dietary Supplemental Health Education Act, you have the right to know about ingredients that are in a formula, and then you can make your own determination of whether you want to use the product or not. The one thing we will have is a science page, so you can refer back to the science page, and you can see the ingredients that we're talking about. They'll be listed there, and the clinical studies that have been tested on them will be there so that you can make an intelligent decision, not an emotional one. So the key to this is losing weight, eating and feeling full, not being hungry, building lean muscle mass and tissue, not losing it as you do, and improving your basic metabolic rate, improving your BMI, which is your body mass index. That's ratio of fat to lean. So we think we've got all of that done. And then the fifth product that we're going to have in this is going to be really a wonderful energy drink, one that supports fat burning too. It's not just increasing your energy, but it's really quite revolutionary in the world. And we'll talk about these, but first I want to talk about meal replacement, the mainstay, and then we'll get to the others. So this is the way that most meal replacement products in the industry work. They're usually soy-based, or else they're whey-based. But if they're soy-based, I think that's absolutely the wrong choice to make. Now, they can have 2 or 3 different types of ingredients in the formulation, but soy, for me, is the wrong choice. And yet it's commonly used, and I think most formulations have it. Here's the reasons that I think that soy, and I have just written a paper on it, which will be printed, listing all of the things that soy is contradictory to in weight loss and in health. First of all, soy is protein, and so, but soy is very vulnerable to a lot of things, especially pesticide or pests in agriculture and weeds. And so, to grow a good crop, it's probably one of the most, if not the most, heavily chemically contaminated products that we grow in all of agriculture. So there can be tremendous amounts of pesticides and herbicides that are right into the soy itself. So when soy is harvested, you're taking the soybean and they make a milk out of it and grind it all up and put it in solution, then they dry it out and you have a soy powder, or you could have a soy milk if you prefer. It doesn't really matter. They just dry it out so that you have the powder for uses like this in feedstuffs. And certainly it's a good nutritional protein. And there is some biological activity with soy, but I think it's negative for what you really want. And what soy is estrogenic, and I think many women are aware of the fact that women are taking it for things like hot flashes because it acts like estrogen. It's an estrogen. It's not a mimic, but it's a phytoestrogen, a plant-based estrogenic product, and it's somewhat helpful with hot flashes. So what's wrong with that? Well, not really in that one aspect, but if you take a look at it like this, estrogen is really building fat. That's what creates the bust, and because it's made from fat that's there, and it's designed to really help to grow a baby and to accelerate its growth rate and to give the mother the type of support and fat reserves that a baby should need. So that's one problem. The other thing is these phytoestrogens are according to scientific studies that I've seen, and I'm going to quote and show it, and this is my opinion, so let me qualify this whole talk as in my opinion, because we're going to do some serious damage to the sales industry in the fact that we're going to take huge numbers of customers and distributors away from them because of the power of the products we're using. Now, I'm not talking about malicious damage. I'm talking about the fact that we are just going to have so much better product and so much better program. Our Fit and Fabulous program is a sensational one, and people are going to be so happy and so successful that we're going to go out, and I fully believe, and I think you'll see after this program, we are going to dominate this marketplace in weight loss. So estrogens or phytoestrogens, I believe, as many researchers do, that they are they're damaging even to the fetus in the womb and to little boys and little girls as they develop right up into adulthood, and then they even affect adults. And here's how it goes. Because they're estrogenic, they can support overdeveloping the feminine side. And so even from the fetus in the womb, because you are what you eat and so is the baby, and so it can start affecting the fetus in the womb. And so it will overdevelop the female fetus and suppress the male fetus, because male fetuses, they grow up androgenic. There's a little estrogenic, but it's small in comparison to the androgenic stimulation that it needs to develop as a male, as a little boy. And when you have so much estrogen coming into the system, it appears, and I think scientists would say, that it downregulates the androgen system and uprates the estrogenic system, so boys don't develop as they should, and they're less masculine when they're born. And that continues on if you have that in their diet throughout their life. And so, and as they become men, then they are, if they're on a weight loss program like this, these phytoestrogens are thought to be feminizing to men. So are we saying that men are not men like they used to be? That really could be, because there are so many estrogen mimics, especially in personal care products now that we use, and they're having a tremendous effect on men, and they're feminizing men. Fact is, because of some of these things that's happened, just to give you an example, sperm count about 60 years ago was about 100,000 units in a milliliter fluid. Now it's down to about 95. It's down 95% to about 5,000 units. Imagine 100,000 to 5,000, 95% gone, and they believe it's due to these estrogenic mimics and phytoestrogens that didn't used to really be in our diet, but now are. On the female side, it overdevelops girls. They go into puberty faster, they put on weight faster, and as they do, and become women, then it goes into the mode where it might increase fat storage considerably. And after the age of 30, women start to put on about a pound a year. And if you look at most women you know that are not gorging themselves, just naturally the way they were, they start putting on about a pound a year. So at 40, they're about 10 pounds over. 50, they're about 20 pounds over. Doesn't that make sense? And that's about where most are. Now, some, because we have more fat in our diets and we're eating more of that higher calorie, they'll be even higher. But the problem with estrogen in adult women is that, yes, they say, well, maybe you need some more estrogen in your diet. And I totally disagree with that, as some other people do. I think you have enough estrogen in your body and in your food chain to do it. Where women are deficient, it's in progesterone. So you need progesterone to really to balance the estrogenic effects that you have. Now, we're not going to give you that in a meal replacement. There are ways of getting it. We're working on some things for that right now. We have a progesterone cream you can rub into the skin in areas like on the inside of the arm, which can be very effective. But that's a whole other story. So the other thing it does is if women develop a cancer and they think some of these estrogens, especially some of the estrogen mimics that are in personal care products, could create a cancer. And once a reproductive cancer starts to develop, it grows very fast, because those are the types of cells that have to respond quickly to grow a baby from a single cell to a baby in 9 months or so. So these cancers can grow at an incredibly fast rate because the cells are programmed to grow incredibly fast. So if you're taking a product like an estrogen mimic, or if you have a phytoestrogen, it's believed that it takes those cancer cells that are growing fast anyway and just speeds them up so they grow faster and faster. So there's a real negative there with soy. For those reasons alone, I wouldn't use it. But the other thing is, as I talked about, heavily contaminated in the field with herbicides and pesticides, and I believe most of those are. And if you're ingesting that, then what's going to happen to those toxins in your intestinal tract? Well, a lot of things can occur because it affects the balance in your body and the ability to absorb a lot of especially important types of nutrients that you need. Some vitamins and some minerals and even calcium can be affected by that quite a bit. And I'll publish a study so you can see that. So that means you're not getting the things that you need out of the food that you're getting, possibly, into your body. And so soy is contributing to that. The other thing is the toxins, the herbicides, the pesticides are irritating the intestinal tract. And so you have a response there and a response throughout your whole body, and you get inflammation. And that's thought to be, and I believe it is, one of the major causes of metabolic syndrome, which makes it so easy for women to store fat and so difficult for them to lose it. But you can get a lot of pesticides and herbicides in the foods that you eat nowadays because they're so heavily contaminated. The other thing that happens to soy is it's cooked, and it's heated to a very high temperature because they're trying to kill parasites and microbials and things like that are on it. And so those basic proteins found in nature, I mean, if you could take soy and it wasn't sprayed or anything else like that and eat it, you'd have probably a better protein. So you have a cooked protein, and it's called denatured. The proteins are altered. They're broken down. Just like if you cook vegetables for too long, you destroy the vitamin content that's in it. We all know that. Now, so here you have a soy protein, which is really not providing a biological impact except on the estrogenic side, which now if you've heard the story, I believe you'll think that is negative. So they go to whey, and whey protein is very powerful proteins because they come in all different types, and they're full of peptides and polypeptides, and of course they're from milk. So to make whey, they just take skim milk. They separate the fat from it, and then they take the skim milk and they dry it out. In the process of drying it out, they heat it to very high temperatures, and they evaporate off the fluids, and what's left is a whey protein residual. Now they can isolate some of those types that they do, but when you're done, you've got the temperature up so high that whey proteins are also denatured. And in whey, if you call it whey as a source, as a liquid, there's another type of protein called casein. These caseins are loaded with very good proteins, and they have a good mineral content too, especially it can be utilized for bones because they have all of the major ingredients in it that builds bone. I mean, if you think of it this way, if you were, I was raised on a cattle ranch, and what we did is we milked cows and we raised cows, and so we had beef cows and dairy cows, and so we would milk the cows, and then the cream was the most important part, and we'd separate that off and sell the cream to the dairy, and the skim milk, or contained the whey, we would give the calves that we had taken off the cows that weren't nursing any longer but still needed milk. We fed them that. They would drink that, and they would grow and build big, strong bones, good muscle, and everything, because all of those components are in whey, or whey milk, if you will, to do that. But now they come along and they refine it. And when they refine it, they drive it to such a high temperature that those stimulatory proteins that support muscle building, bone building, tissue and organ generation, and all of that activity are denatured. They're broken down. They're altered. They're not the same. They become non-functional. Peptides, which are small amino acid complexes, they're very easily disintegrated, and they're gone too. And they're they're highly active in supporting the body as it builds. But the other things that proteins or whey proteins can do is in their raw state, they can actually increase fat burning because you need to burn more fat in order to build more bone and to build more tissue. So when you take whey and you cook it to such a high temperature, you've decomposed the whey portion and you decompose the casein portion. But that's what they have that they put in. Now companies will come along and they'll take the casein and it's they want to keep it in solution, so they need to add a mineral with it. And so what's commonly done is they'll salt it, just put salt in, and so you'll see it as sodium caseinate. That's the complex. Just like sodium and chlorine together is sodium chloride, which is salt, say. That's what they're using with it. So they'll salt it and they'll hit it with sodium so you can, while they make, a company might say they have low levels of sodium from other sources, actually with the caseinate, which can be, if you see it in the top 5 or so on the ingredient list, because they have to list them by order of concentration. So look for number 1, that's the big one. And if it's soy, that's the big culprit, and that means they got the most of it in. But if it's in the top 5, they usually got pretty good concentrations of it. So anyway, with that, then you have sodium caseinate. Now, and that's they use that because it's a bulking agent, and it will swell up in the stomach, and it moves very slowly, and that makes you feel more full for longer. But the problem with wheys also is the fact of contamination. When you think about whey, where does it come from? From cow's milk. What do they do to cows? Well, number 1, they hit them with hormones so they'll produce more milk. They shoot them with antibiotics because cows are always getting some type of an infectious disease that they're trying to keep down. And where do you think those go? They come out in the milk. And about anything they eat comes out in the milk. In Japan right now, they're throwing away cow's milk because they're feeding on grass where a radiation cloud has come down over it, and so the milk is all radioactive. And so these dairy herds milk the cows, say twice a day, they have to, or the cows dry out, and then they go up and pour the milk out in the ditch. That's all they're doing with it because they have no place to take them. They have no other feed for them, and it's contaminated, and it just passes through them. Well, the problem with that kind of thing, what goes in necessarily doesn't come out, and they just took a bunch of cattle from Kobe, if you know, Japan, and they took it into Tokyo, and they tested them for radiation when they were in the field, and before they brought them in, well, the radiation levels are low enough. So they brought them in and slaughtered them, and when they cut, when they process the beef, they cut it in half, and you've seen the big halves as they hang. Once they cut it in half, they found out the meat was heavily irradiated. Why? Because the grass that they were eating had radiation, and so when it would go through, the radiation was sticking and accumulating in the tissues. And the more grass they ate, the more radiation was accumulating in bones and muscle and all that type of thing. And so all these cattle they slaughtered, because on the outside they thought they had low radiation. When they got into the inside, they had high radiation, and it was not safe for humans to eat. It's the same thing with cows, where they're getting, in a different sense, here because we don't have radiated grass that they're eating. But what happens is cows are eating grass and hay, particularly, and they are sprayed with weed killers and insecticides, pesticides, herbicides of all types. And so the feed can be highly contaminated, and nothing, I can tell you, is done in processing of putting out milks or things like this. It's just heated up super high, pasteurized, you've heard that, to kill all the microorganisms. And as you know, that high temperature will, of course, break down the proteins in milk. So if you were a milk drinker and you could have safe sanitary milk and it wasn't pasteurized, it's much more healthy for you. But we're marketing it, so it must be pasteurized. So those proteins that have so much power in milk are degraded to where they're nutritional proteins, but their stimulative power is gone because it's altered, it's degraded by temperature, just breaking it apart, and it just disintegrates down into a pile of proteins. But what's still there are the pesticides, the herbicides, the antibiotics, the hormones, all of those kinds of things. And so with with whey proteins, they'll take them, or whey, or casein, that's in the whey milk, they'll heat it up and just boiling gas off and all of the water that's in it, and it comes down and it's condensed. But the other thing that's in it too, which you really don't realize, is quite a bit of lactose. Now they pulled off the milk fat, but the lactose is still there with the whey. So now when you take a dietary supplement that has whey in it, if you're lactose intolerant, and everybody is to a certain degree, and some a lot more than others, but I think somewhere around 40 to 60% of the women are quite lactose intolerant. So here you take it, they don't list lactose on it. It's just in the whey complex and in the casein complex that they do. And so now you have lactose intolerance, and you have lactose in what you're taking, and you don't even know it because they don't have to list it on the label. And what happens? You swell up, you get inflammation, metabolic syndrome is triggered, and then as they're digested and absorbed, these pesticides, herbicides, and all of that start irritating the intestinal tract, getting in and creating inflammation, and you've got metabolic syndrome a go-go, I believe. And so with that, now you have a tough time losing weight and an easy time storing weight, and inflammation is there in a response to the irritation. That's when you sprain your ankle or something like that, it swells up. It's inflammation to protect that damaged tissue by putting that pressure on it with all that fluid. And it's the same thing in your body. The inflammation comes from the pesticides and the herbicides, and you're going to have a tough time losing weight. So those are the factors that's involved in proteins. And you can have a protein concentrate or proteins in a mix with this kind of thing in whey, but they're denatured, they're decomposed, they're degenerated, they're altered. And it's the same in the soy. But soy has a much more adverse effect on the body because of the estrogenic and in many biological processes that it interferes with, especially in the absorption of nutrients, a lot of vitamins, minerals, things like that. You'll need to look on the site we have. I'll have it posted here. I've sent it out to some of you leaders. You've already got it, so you might want to turn around and send it out to the people, because these are just copies of scientific studies that I've just put together. And so you've got them so you can see what it all is. And when you realize with the meal replacement, they're supplementing a lot of vitamins, minerals, nutrients in it. Not a lot. And it looks like a lot because they're a big list, but it's not. But those could be greatly inhibited because of the soy that's in the product. So what's the answer? Well, I'll tell you what, if you've got all of that that's working against you, and it's low calorie, and you take 2 of those in replacement to low calorie meals, you're going to lose weight. But here's the big problem. You're going to lose weight. But with soy, the studies are showing if you have a soy-based meal replacement or soy-based weight loss product, even with whey with it, that you're going to lose fat and you're going to lose lean. And it happens in the process. So I'll give you an analogy here at the end, because how do we get around that? Well, what we've done is there's a very high-tech system. Number one, we don't use soy. We won't use it. And so we use whey, but we use whey proteins that are isolated. And we also use a caseinate, but we use a calcium caseinate. So put sodium with it, or salts, which is so cheap to do and can contribute sodium into your diet, which I don't think you want. We use calcium, which is very helpful for you. Plus, you need to realize within this complex are the major minerals that build your bone, and they're in the right forms for you to use it. So we have that in. Now, but yet they would still be contaminated. Our whey would be, but it's not heated. And so we don't heat it. And so we don't denature the proteins. We don't alter or degrade them. They're not broken down. So neither the whey or the calcium caseinate is denatured. But what about the pesticides, the herbicides, the hormones, the antibiotics, all those other things which are so bad for our health? Well, there's a way of removing it, and it's called micellar, M-I-C-E-L-L-A-R, processing. It's a patented system, and it's a darn good one. and it does it without heat, and it allows you to refine the proteins and extract them from the medium that they're in. So while whey and soy are just put in a big vat in the liquid, and it's the liquid, the water is boiled off until it's concentrated, and then they essentially take that and use it. Not so with this. What we do is we take it at a normal, a reasonable temperature, 100, 105. We don't do it, but we have it done through this process. And they put it under pressure against a screen, and a screen, like a screen door, if you think of it that way. It's the same way that reverse osmosis purifies water. This purifies the proteins. So depending on the mesh size of the screen and the pressure put against it, the protein solids will go through it, and certain particulates like lactose won't make it, or any fats that are left won't make it, and so they're sloughed off. And then you can have a multi-level of screens that they go through from larger to smaller, smaller, smaller. So you understand the process. Each one can go through a system of where there's pressure pushing through the components that you want and separating out those that you don't. Or in some cases, you may want to separate two types of components, both useful. This is a small one like peptides. This is a larger one like some of the protein complexes, and you can separate them out by just taking them to different stages. And so when you're done, it hasn't been heated, but you have purified it to a very high degree. So you virtually have no lactose in it, so anyone lactose intolerant is not going to have that. Pesticides, herbicides are going to be so minimal as to be non-existent too. The same with hormones and antibiotics that are in it. So now you have the way nature created this, the way that young animals use it to build muscle, to build bone, to support their bodies as they do that, and in the process they can burn a lot of fat. You notice one thing with any types of animals, including children, when they grow, they can have tremendous appetites, and they grow, and yet they're thin. They have a good body shape and contour and everything else, and that's a lot of the power that's in these whey proteins and these calcium caseinates if they're processed through a micellar system. So if you read our label, you'll see the number one thing will be micellar whey isolates. We'll have the whey that runs through the process, and it's micellar whey, and then you'll see micellar calcium caseinate. So it means you're getting the finest. It's not denatured, and it's selectively filtered out and processed, so it's very, very pure. And those ingredients that are so vital and can work within your body system to support it as it burns fat, as it builds muscle, tissues, organs, builds bone, in fact, and I mean builds bone. Ladies, aren't you looking for something like that? A supplement that will support your body to build bone? Well, this has got calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, all the major ingredients, the 7 main ones, and a lot of minor ones, and we've thrown in all of the trace minerals that we think that are so important to health with it. So you have a whole spectrum of the inorganic minerals that are with it in an organic state, because we, and you may not understand all of that, and I won't go through it too much, but it's organic so that it can be accepted and used. If it's not, they're only about 3% absorbable. If it is, they're highly absorbable. The other thing with the whey, when it's micellar, it's digested much more quickly, and you get lots of it going through. So now with ours, you're not going to have any of those contraindications, and if we have a low calorie, now you'll burn fat, build muscle, because, or you should, that's the theory of this, as it happens, where the others, you won't have a fat burning mechanism that's going unless you want to exercise. There's hardly little or nothing, I don't think any is there where they're denatured the way they are. With ours, it can support all of that fat burning, and so in theory, this is what we think happens. Let's say you had 2 people and they each lost 20 pounds. And one of them was on a soy whey meal replacement, taking about the amount we are. And the other was on our whey, our micellar whey and micellar caseinate formulation only. And if they both lost 20 pounds, we believe, this is an approximation, of course, an estimate, that the one person who was on this soy whey product would lose maybe 15 pounds of fat and 5 pounds of lean. And so do you think that is a healthy situation? Well, fat loss certainly is, but how about all the toxins that are in the body? How about the lowering of the basic metabolic rate, which is a possibility, and the lowering of the body mass index, which is very negative. Those are and then you've got all of these potential toxins that could be accumulating in your system, affecting metabolic syndrome, driving estrogenic factors, creating stress. Those are all the possibilities that can happen for that, especially in women. On the other hand, we lost 20 pounds. But what did we lose? We think you're going to lose 25 pounds of fat. So how do you lose 20 pounds and 25 pounds of that is fat? It's because we believe you'll gain about 5 pounds of lean. And in doing so, muscle weighs more than fat does, so it'll compensate for it. So at the end of the weight loss program, both people, in theory, would have lost 20 pounds. This one lost 15 pounds of fat. We lost 25 pounds of fat. This one lost 5 pounds of lean. We gained 5 pounds of lean. So what's the difference in it? The difference between the person on the one diet, if this theory is correct, which it's an approximate too, but the people on this diet had lost 5 and we gained 5. That's 10 pounds of lean difference between what a person could go through one program versus ours. And on the other side, they've lost 15 pounds of fat. We've lost 25 pounds of fat. That's 10 pounds different. Well, that's a lot that I've talked about, isn't it? That's meal replacement. It tastes delicious. It's and because of the way that we refined it, these casinates go through and they bind to the receptors just like food does. It is food. And so the hormones of hunger aren't released. And so you stay full for a long time. And then the calcium caseinate will swell up and it slowly releases proteins as it goes through the body, where whey will release the proteins and create fat burning or support fat burning energy. You keep saying support because you can't say stimulate. Because it's not legal to say stimulate. So anyway, whey proteins will support fat burning for about 2 hours, but the micellar calcium caseinates will slowly release proteins for fat burning for about 6 hours. And because they swell up and without any of these irritants in it, then it's going to move through the system very, very slowly. You're going to feel full for a long, long time. Well, does that sound like, which product do you think you want to use? Sound like you want to take a soy product and a crude whey product, or do you want to take micellar whey and micellar calcium caseinate? See, and of course it all comes from whey, but you see the difference. There's a distinct difference. Now I've looked at some of the products that are in the marketplace, and they're remarkably poor. I've looked at one in particular, well, two, and actually one company came in and asked us to make one for them because they weren't very happy about their formulation. And so I don't get involved in private label, so that's another part of the division that does that. I just stay true to Sizzle totally, so I don't look at the formulas. They told me what happened. They said, we formulated them a better product. It's not micellar, but they formed a better product than what they had. And when they got done, the company said, yeah, we like it a lot, but it just cost too much. We don't want to pay that much money for the product, so they decided not to use it. It was quite surprising to me, and especially we put $100,000 worth of research in it to develop it for them, I'm told, and that was just gone. And they said, oh no, we want a better product, we don't want to pay the price for it. So I looked at another company's product, and I thought, this thing probably going to cost about $2 to $3 to produce it, and they sell it for about $50. That's what the market is on a lot of. Some are higher than that, though, but they sell it for about $50, and if it costs $2 to make it, that's about a 25 times turn. But you got to remember, that's what it would cost us to make it. Now, they don't make their own products, and most don't. Even companies like Herbalife, they've never made a product. They have it made by somebody else. So there's a big markup in that. We're going to make a profit, and we're going to cover all our costs. We're going to put that on top of the product we sell back to anyone, and that's the same thing the other. So they take this inexpensive $2 to $3 formulation, in my opinion. That's what I think it'll cost, is I just do a ballpark estimate of the ingredients that are in it, and here it is, $50. Well, let me tell you this, and I've never revealed the price of a formula that we build in before, because, I mean, that's really proprietary. But there is such a vast difference because of this highly advanced technology we're using in ours. It costs about $15. Our costs, that's our cost, without any markups in this, to make this meal replacement, which is called Sizzle Lean, L-E-A-N, all in capital. So Sizzle Lean costs us about $15. If the other costs $2 to $3, what's the difference? Our product is going to be 5 to 7 times more expensive. Why do we make that choice? Because we want to give you the maximum weight loss power, and none of the toxins, none of the herbicides, pesticides, hormones, all of the antibiotics, and lactose that could be present in the other, plus the estrogen mimics. And so it costs money to do it. So we're pre-launching. We're going to, and my time is up, but we're going to pre-launch probably next week, where you'll be able to order so that when convention comes, and we are moving on this thing fast, you'll be able to get your order and your products right off the bat, so you don't have to wait. And we're giving you all this information, which we normally don't on products before, because this is such a massive market out there that we're going to come out. And I tell you, in this field of weight loss, there's a lot of people monkeying around out there with formulas, but they're almost all the same, little or no difference. Our formula is dramatically different, and we have a lot of things in it besides that. We don't use sucrose, and you know all the potentially harmful factors with that. We're using stevia, and there's no harmful, there's ways of processing. It's a natural one, and we don't use any, there's some harmful ways, or some not harmful, but some ingredients that can be used in process, and we make sure that they're not used in the way that our stevia is extracted. So we have a $15 product that costs us that. We're going to sell it for $50. We're going to be right there competitive, but our compensation plan's better. We're going to release it here. You're going to make more money. We're going to have a program where if you get 3 customers, your product is going to be free for you, and it's an exciting time. We're going to have cars and jewelry and watches and trips, and we're going to have weight loss challenges that are going to be tremendous, and it's going to be the ultimate body sculpting challenge, and we're going to give all kinds of recognition and things that just make this the most exciting program that's ever there. And when you put the other products with it to support it, Slender Pop with it, to curb your appetite if there's another time when you're going you don't want, and to help with all the other, I won't go into the details of weight loss that it does, but it really works, as we know. You take Accelerator to support an increase in fat burning in your cells. To do that, the energy drink which we're bringing out, which is not a buzz, it is, man, it takes you up and you just feel like you're on cloud 9 all day. It's wonderful with that. So we have all of these products that we're putting together in this package called Fit and Fabulous, and that's our weight loss system. You'll make money, you'll recruit people. I do not think, in all candor, there will be almost anyone that could not lose weight on this system that we have, because we've addressed, I think, all of the major factors with toxins, with lactose, with the problems with soy and the metabolic syndrome, all of those things that are keeping people from losing weight, and we're putting it into where we think we can support the body so it can overcome metabolic syndrome. It's not a cure for it. Your body has to cure itself, but this unique type of nutrition can do it. So we have all those things together, and I'll tell you what, if you're not on fire about this one, your wood is wet. This is the product of a lifetime. There's no one that I can see in the industry that's, well, who could afford to do it? $15? And what would we mark it up to sell it to someone else? 20, 25 bucks for it? We'd never be able to sell it for 50. It'd be a $100, $150 product by the time it's out there, but you're going to get it for 50 and all of these things. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about tonight. I really appreciate so many of you on. I'm only going to do these conference calls 2 or 3 times next week, and then I'll be done. So now is the time to get everyone you know on the conference calls. And I tell you what, if you want to come to convention, you ought to want to come to convention. This is not a convention where we're just going around and socializing. We're going to show these products. We're going to have the products there for you so you can get them, and we're going to bring out a system to show you how to build your business like you've never seen before. Lead generation, actually handling your customers, and submitting orders for you, showing you how to communicate with them and seeing what they're doing, and all kinds of things that no company has ever been able to do before in MLM. So not only are we going to have the greatest breakthrough in the history of weight loss, we're going to have the greatest breakthrough in the history of building business. We have a system now like no company has in the industry, and we think if you'll do your part, we can take people that would never be successful in MLM and make them extremely successful now in Sizzle. So if you haven't signed up for convention, let me tell you, this will be this will be the most important one you will ever do in your lifetime. We'll have great convention, spectacular products, things that we're bringing out, but none will have the impact of this, because the people that are there, or the people that commit now, are the ones that are going to have the best shot at building gigantic incomes, taking back their life, and building the future that they deserve. So anyway, I've rattled on, but I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. I can see your sincere interest. This is your moment in time. You have got it. You have found the big one. There's never been a company like this. There's never been products like this, and lots more to come. But this weight loss is the biggest industry in all of network marketing, and perhaps in all of nutrition, and we've got it like no other company has. And we're not better than, we are vastly superior to the mediocre performing products that are out there. So come join us. Get going now. Get recruiting now. Get people coming to the convention. Get people on these calls for the few that are left, and of course are repeated, and let's build something massive together with Sizzle. We can do it, and we're going to do it, and you're here. Right time, right place. Thank you, everyone. I'll turn the time back over to